In this video, we're going to take a look at combining tempera paint with colored pencils, and these two mediums actually work pretty well together. In this demonstration, I'm going to be drawing or painting a human eye. And the first thing I've done here is just sketched out the shape of the eye very loosely on gray paper. I'm doing this eye from imagination. So after I have painted the pupil with a very dark gray, I'm going to go ahead and put in a highlight area, and if you'll notice I left a space for that. You don't want to try to cover over tempera paint because the color underneath will mix in a little bit. When tempera paint becomes dry and you cover over it with more wet tempera paint, that paint underneath becomes reactivated and can mix in with the color. So a little bit of a warmer gray that's used on the inside of the white part of the eye on the left side. And then I'm going to start adding some of the local color of the eye here, and I'm kind of making it a cool gray to begin with. I'm going to layer other colors on top of it. So once that cool gray area has been allowed to dry a little bit, I'm going to take a very dark blue-green and start to paint some of the patterns on the inside portion of the eye. I'll also go around the outside part of the eye because most of the time around the outside parts of the iris, the value does get a little darker and the color gets a little bit more intense. So I'm just kind of trying to create that pattern that stretches out from the center part of the eye. Now once I've got a pretty good pattern established with the dark blue-green, I'm going to go over the top of it with a lighter mixture, a lighter value of blue, and then just a little bit, kind of a glaze of white. And to create that glaze of white, just mix the tempera paint with some water and make it transparent. Now, after I've established kind of that glaze over the surface, I'm going to go back again with that darker blue-green and reestablish some of those patterns. And you can keep going with this for quite a while to kind of build up those patterns inside of the eye. Now I need to address the white parts of the eye, and the white parts of the eyes are rarely actually really white. In this case, I'm going to put a little bit of shadow here on the inside corner of the left part of the eye, and I'm going to bring some of that shadow over on the right side as well. And once that's been established over the whole surface of the eye, I'm going to bring out some of the highlights. So I'm going to mix again a lighter version of that gray, almost a white, and go right in on top of that surface. And like I said earlier, the paint will become reactivated and mix on the surface, getting the value that I'm actually after. Next, I'll mix up a little white and red and create a pink for the tear duct. I'll darken up some of the shadows underneath with a red, and then hit a couple areas with a highlight to make that area look reflective and wet. Then I'll mix up a skin tone, and to mix this particular skin tone, I'm using red, yellow, brown, and white. And of course, skin tone will have a variety of different values and colors around it. So I'm going to start to establish some of the highlighted areas and some of the shadowed areas, again by mixing white to make the skin tone lighter and a little bit of blue and brown to make the skin tone darker. I'm not going to mix any black with it. Now the eyelid overlaps the eyeball, so it'll create a bit of cast shadow underneath there, so a darker value here will do the trick. Now once that whole area is allowed to dry a bit, it's time to switch over to the colored pencils, and I'm going to start here with a brown to create some of the lines, or actually just accentuate some of the lines that I want to make a little bit stronger in the drawing. So I'll begin on the inside part of the upper eyelid and kind of bring that line around to the bottom. I'm also going to accentuate the upper part of the eyelid, and I'm going to go ahead and make the inside part of the pupil a little bit darker. First with the brown, and then followed by a dark blue. That blue and brown mixture will make a natural looking black. And then I'm going to go ahead and bring that blue around again in the inside part of the iris and around the outside part of the eye. And you want to use the blue and the brown here. You want to stay away from black. Black's going to be pretty strong and kind of make things look a little bit unnatural. With a very sharp red pencil, I'm going to go in here and put some of the blood vessels that happen in the eye, just very subtly. You don't want to make it look fake. And I'm also going to accentuate the skin tone now. We used red, yellow, brown, and white when we painted the skin tone, so we're going to use the same colors with the colored pencils to accentuate the tone further. So after the red has been applied, I'm going to start creating some of the shadowed areas with the darker brown. And just underneath the eye, it might be a little bit darker. If there's any wrinkles you want to add in there, that's the time to do so. And next, with a bit of yellow as well. We might bring a little bit of that yellow over into the iris as well, kind of to push the green tone that we're after there. And next, a little bit of blue-green, kind of make things pop just a little bit. I'm going to be very subtle with this blue-green. Layering the colors is going to help create more of a natural looking eye. And then I'm going to burnish some of these colors using white, and the waxiness of the colored pencil will help move some of the material around on the surface and work it in and create smoother transitions. And if the white doesn't work for you, a colorless blender will do the trick as well. Now we'll use a little bit of brown here to push the shadowed areas around the eye a little bit further. Anywhere that protrudes is going to be lighter in value, and anywhere that recedes is going to be darker in value. And working those lights and darks are what's going to create the illusion of form. And now we're ready to move on to the eyelashes. And to create these eyelashes, we're going to do this all with a colored pencil. And I want to make sure that I have a very sharpened colored pencil for this. And you almost want to make check marks, and these marks need to be bold. And typically the eyelashes are going to be a little bit longer than you think they need to be. And these marks can kind of cross over each other kind of in an organic fashion. Now the bottom portion of the eyelashes are going to come off away from the eye just a bit. They're not going to start right on that line. There's a piece of skin there, so just keep that in mind. They're also going to be a little bit shorter. Then to make things a little bit darker, I'm going to switch back to my blue pencil. I might accentuate a few of the eyelashes. You don't want to do all of them. You want to have a little bit of variety of color and value there. And then lastly, just a bit of shadow here with the brown, and maybe just a couple areas of highlight just to finish things off. And that's a quick look at using tempera paint and colored pencils to draw an eye.